Oh, Great Spirit, Namaste. Saints and sages of all times, of all places, Namaste. O ye pathmakers of old, Namaste. Most beloved Lord divine, in all of thy names and all of thy forms, most infinite Lord of stillness, Namaste. We call upon thee and ask thee to join with us during this sacred time. Bless us with thy presence. Bless us with thy wisdom. Bless us with thy presence. Ancestors of old, ancestors of our bloodlines, ancestors of our adopted lines, ancestors of our marriage lines, ancestors of our friendship lines, ancestors of all of our spiritual lines. Namaste. Most beloved and precious Ishtatevata. Namaste. Sweep clear our paths, that we might hear that which needs to be heard, and see that which needs to be seen, and act with the greatest wisdom. Namaste. Welcome. Welcome to our Sangha. Welcome to our spiritual time together today. Once upon a time in the not too distant past, the Tibetan people, many of them, living in the monastery with the young man who was to become the Dalai Lama, had to flee Tibet, or felt they had to flee Tibet to have spiritual freedom. One of the monks did not make it, and he ended up living in prison for 20 years. And during the time he was in prison, he was tortured again and again and again. Repeatedly, he was tortured. Not a very nice existence in his homeland. Tortured by the invaders. Now, this could be any land taken over by one group of people. It doesn't have to be Tibet, but it was at that time. In time, the monk was released and found his way to Dharamsala, where the Dalai Lama is currently living. And in speaking with the Dalai Lama, he was asked, what was the most difficult thing for you? What was the hardest thing? That's easy. There was one day in all of those 20 years, it was the worst day in all the 20 years. What could that have been? You know, deprived of food, deprived of family, deprived of love, deprived of conversation, deprived of everything that makes life beautiful. What could be the one day that stood out among all those days? And the Dalai Lama raised his eyes and said, yes. And the monk looked at him and he said, well, there was one day that I almost lost my compassion for my captors. Almost. It was on its way out the door. But it came back. It came back. And that saved me. I don't know what I would have done if I'd lost my compassion for my captors. Now that monk was captured by other humans. He's a human in human body and was captured by other humans and tortured, and but we're all captured, right? Whether or not we're captured by thought forms, whether or not we're captured by others, we're captured in one way or the other. And we need to be able to free ourselves from that which has captured us. We need to be able to find a way out, to find a way to have compassion for the others, to see the others, to see that they too are struggling as we are struggling. There once was a man. They say he was a demon. I'm not sure. Maybe we need to go back a little bit. We have to go back to the beginning of this kalpa, this period of time. On the ocean of non-existence lies a being. On his side, he sleeps. And from his belly projects forth a lotus. And in time, he opens an eye, one eye, waking from his long dream. And upon the lotus, he projects forth 3 beings. Now in this kalpa, we call them Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Funny names, but not. Brahma, the Lord of creation, the consciousness that creates form. Form. Then we have Vishnu. Vishnu sustains form. For where would we be if the form that was created dissolved away? So when Brahma was first brought forth, Vishnu was not active. And everything he created and disappeared, like your dreams. His brother Vishnu came, and everything Brahma created stayed and was sustained. It doesn't take too much thinking to realize that becomes a hoarder's nightmare. Brahma's thinking a thought, and it's sustained, very, very busy, very full, really full, like a house that has been overrun. And so they called upon their brother Shiva. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And Lord Shiva dissolved away everything that was fitting no more. Now Vishnu comes back on a regular basis in different incarnations when he feels that they're slipping away and he needs to sustain the goodness of life. It comes back, this consciousness comes back. And one of its incarnations is as Krishna. Krishna, the state of God consciousness that lives at the sun center. So here you are. Vishnu is alive as Krishna. And you know he's the sustainer now. Now, as it comes to be upon the earth, there are kingdoms. As it comes to be, there are kingdoms Where there are kingdoms, there are kings and queens. And where there are kings and queens, good things happen and not so good things happen. And so there was a king. His name was Narkashura. Narka. We'll call him Narka for short. Narkashura. And like most humans, king or not, he had a little bit of compassion within him, a little bit of kindness within him. But he also had an overwhelming amount of influence that led him to be arrogant and cruel and mean, nasty. And which grows bigger. In the beginning of his reign, his compassion, his kindness, it would pop up once a day, maybe twice a day. And the rest of the day, he would just become arrogant. See, when you're king and everybody jumps to anything you need, anything you want, anything you desire, it's easy to become arrogant. Your mind feels as if you are more important than anyone else, that your needs and wants should go above anyone else. A little bit like a 2-year-old. But this Nakashura became dangerous. His acts of compassion became fewer and fewer until maybe once a month in time, once every 6 months, once a year, once 5 years. Not very often, but still on occasion, an act of kindness, an act of compassion. Well, it got so bad that one day he went up and he stole the gold earrings of Aditi, the mother of the gods. Oh, no. Be arrogant to the humans, but don't steal the gold earrings of the mother of the gods. Not such a nice thing to do. And that riled everybody up, as you can imagine. No, don't take mama's stuff. And they started to pay attention. The gods, the people, everybody was paying attention to him because he had become so extreme in his actions. So mean, so cruel. I said it before, mean and cruel. How was he mean? Oh, there was plenty of shelter that could be had. The buildings sat empty while people sat shivering on the street. Why, he separated children from their parents and put the children in cages. Babies in cages, little ones in cages. No help. Little food. Crying, uncared for. He left the old people sitting alone, tired, no help. They too, maybe not in cages, but tucked away in cold, isolated buildings built just for them. He built large buildings, cement, stone buildings. And through his cruel rule, humans, men mostly, but women, in some cases, children, were put into these cruel buildings, that cold, isolated, punishing, not kind, not compassionate. And it grew and it grew and it grew. The people became divided against each other, one side against another. Until one day, he kind of crossed the line. If it's possible to cross the line after doing all those things. You see, there were 16,000 daughters that the gods had brought forth. 16,000. Magical, sacred number. And he abducted them. got his guys together, abducted them, stole the daughters, and put them behind iron gates. All right, that did it. It's bad that they stole Mama's earrings, but don't steal my daughters. So the gods go to Lord Krishna, Vishnu, remember? But Krishna, and they say, please come and help us. Of course. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare Hinata Naraya Navasudeva. And he came. There was a battle. He approached the palace. He called out, Nakashura, come, we are going to settle this for once and for all. Now, to get to Nakashura, there was a demon guarding him. Very important. 5-headed demon. 5 heads. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heads. A demon that could see in all directions. Large demon, many, many, many arms. And the battle began. And it continued, and it continued, and it continued. And then Krishna slayed the dragon. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare Inata Naraya Navasudeva. And he walked in. And he said, Nakashura, come here. You know, it's over. The gig's over. Sorry. No more. I slayed the 5-headed dragon. Now you must end this. You must end this incarnation. But. I see that you had compassion. At some time during your life, you've had compassion. You've been kind to people. You've been really horrible. Really, really horrible. You know, Nakashura, they've not done a good job in this incarnation. You've really been a pain. You've been a pain to the earth. You've been a pain to the gods. You've just been nasty. But sometimes along here, you did good. Sometimes along here, you had compassion. Too bad it wasn't a little more, but you had compassion. And because of that, I'm going to give you one last wish. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare Hinata Naraya Navasudeva. One last wish. Nakashura turned inward. To his sun center. And he said, let this day bring joy to the world. Let this day be celebrated as a day of feasting in the world. Let my death be celebrated as a day of joy. the 16,000 daughters were released. The gates were lifted. The iron gates were lifted. The 16,000 daughters were released. Nakashura left the earth to go to his next life. And this day, this week, this time, beginning tomorrow, Diwali, the Festival of Lights, is celebrated. The day that Nakashura left and asked that all people in the world celebrate. They celebrate with joy. They celebrate the return of the light. But my beloved, what does that mean to you and me? You know, around the world, people celebrate this as a festival of lights. But this story is deeply mystical, deeply symbolic. Lord Krishna, Vishnu, the sustainer of the Dharma, the sustainer of the compassion, the sustainer of all the mystical teachings, the sustainer of the wisdom that exists within you at your sun center. Lord Krishna conquered the five-headed monster, the five-headed demon. And what is the five-headed demon? It exists within us. The chakric system, the desires that live within the chakric system, that cause us to be seized, to be frozen. A disciple wrote me a beautiful note last week and wrote something that to me was a profound wisdom. He said, I see that all of the difficulties of my life, all the troubles of my life, have come from my desires and my greeds. Yes, he's right, for all of us, for you and me and for him. But having that awareness and recognizing it makes a difference. Conquering the five-headed demons, you know, at every level of the being, to move to the sun center, to the point of balance. The sun and the moon come together in balance. This is conquering the five-headed demons. To hold on to that compassion, to nourish, to strengthen, to vivify compassion in your life. You know, now what is the 16,000 daughters? You know, 16,000 is a mystical number. It's the number 7. You take the 16,000 and you add the 1 and a 6 and all the zeros. Shrink them down to their primary number, and it's 7. It's the number of the other. All of those for whom you must have compassion. All of those that are not the self, the not self. Every being, every manifested being is the others. The iron gate that they are held behind is the gate at the Mars center, the gate that locks you in to your earth consciousness, that locks you in to your desires, to your greeds. And, you know, for some, greed is may feel like it's a critical adjective. But it is, of all of the yama niyamas, the spiritual principles, greed is the last of the desires to go. It is the last thing that leaves in life, is greed. And sometimes it is said that the last greed is the greed for living in the human body. I don't know, you'll have to meditate upon that. What I do know is this: cultivating compassion. Cultivating compassion is important. What I do know is that when Diwali is celebrated around the world, and it's celebrated with all the lights and the candies and the singing and the dancing, what it's really celebrating is moving from the lower chakras to the sun center. That's what it's really celebrating. The celebration of candles and fun and joy and laughter, and it's truly only celebrating and always celebrating that which we really are seeking, and that is to move above your everyday consciousness to your higher consciousness, move to cosmic consciousness. Do you ever stop? Have you ever stopped at any time in your life and looked at a deer or a ladybug or a bluebird or a lion or a monkey or a human being and asked, I wonder what their life is like. I wonder what their state of consciousness is like. Try it. Try it and see. Step out of yourself and see. The first time that I was in India, I was walking across the street, and in the middle of the meridian, it was a big street, and there was a meridian in the middle. And I thought I saw a family there, and I thought that they were just waiting like I was to cross the street. And I got to the meridian, and with all their family goods there, you could see that there was a little area that they were trying to cook in. They were living in the middle of the meridian. And my mind was shocked. Because for some reason, at that moment, there was a satori, how difficult that piece of karma is to move beyond, to move through. Now, for those of you, and I know many of you have been to India, you know that you see people living in conditions that are very different than most of us here. Most of us have never lived on the streets in that way. Although now, all over the world, we find people living in the streets, on the streets. That karma is very locked in, it's very solid. It's very hard to break free of, walk through time. And so, what can be done? Cultivate yourself some compassion. I will always remember that satori, and it's not just India. You go to Thailand and you see people living in very difficult conditions. Go to Africa and you see them living in difficult conditions. You come to the United States, all over the United States, and you see them living in difficult conditions. Cultivate compassion. And cultivate compassion in your actions, in your thinking, in your speech. And what does that mean? Now, it means if you see someone who is in a difficult condition, don't judge them. You don't need to have an opinion about everything. You don't need to have an opinion about everything. So stop judging other people and begin to stop judging them by, stop judging the little things. I know you like or you don't like the way that their hair is. You like or you don't like the earrings they're wearing. You like or you don't like the color that they've got on. You like or you don't like the shoes that they have. You know, you don't need to have an opinion about that. Your mind begins to bring forth an opinion, and you can easily say, neti, neti, neti. I don't need to have an opinion about that. Now, in addition to not needing to have an opinion, cultivate the awareness that, you know what? Not everybody has to do what you want done. Just because you would like something done does not mean that life has to give it to you the way you want it and in the time you want it. You know, you want that piece of chocolate. Life doesn't have to give you that. Life does not have to give you that. If it's important for you to draw something into your life, you can draw it into your life. But start to be discerning with your thinking. Start to become more aware with your thinking so that you say, oh, yes, this is worth putting my energy to. No, this is not worth putting my energy to. My mind does not need to be critical about what this person said or what this person does. My mind does not need to say, oh, well, mine is better. I can do this better. Or, oh, this is the worst one. They do this so much better than I ever could. Neti, 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 neti. You do not need to do that. It is not necessary. How do you get away from it? Meditate. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Let no thing come between you and your meditation. And many things come between you and your meditation. The baseball games, the basketball games, the football games, the soccer games, the music, the conversations with friends. The struggle trying to live your life the way you think it needs to be lived. Let no thing come between you and your meditation. Schedule time for your meditation. You have time that you eat, you have time you work, you have time you sleep. You should have time to meditate also. It doesn't have to be a grand amount of time, but some time. Now, to live compassionately requires to see the other. A Swami whom I respect very much. Not that that parens should matter. Let's just say a Swami who had been a soldier and went to the Gulf War 3 times, I believe. When he came back, the last time, was having a great deal of difficulty, as people do when they come back from those awful situations. And in meditating and reflecting, one day he had a satori. And he remembered a man his age who had been there as the enemy. And the way that he said it is that he had been filled with hate for the other, filled with hate. And in his meditation, all of a sudden, he had this, oh, if I had been born on the other side of the fence, I would have thought like he thinks. I would have been like he has. And I would not be the enemy. I would be myself. I would be the enemy rather than him. And he said it was a great point of revelation. It was just all of the hatred that he had felt towards this group of others, shifted for him, shifted. And he realized, but for where I was born, this would have changed. And so what am I saying to you? I am saying that the way to cultivate compassion, one of the ways to cultivate compassion, is simply to see this, to be quiet, to see what the other is living through, to see, to be able to be present without judging, and to recognize their experiences. Study. Travel. Pranananda used to say travel. And if you can't travel, come to Chicago. You can go to Chicago, and in a week in Chicago, you can be among Korean-speaking people, Chinese-speaking people, Spanish-speaking people, French-speaking people, Ethiopian-speaking people, Nepalese people. You could eat their foods. Here in Chicago, we have the largest Polish community outside of Warsaw. So you could eat wonderful foods from people who have lived in that region. Hear their languages, watch their movies, read their books in translation. If you don't know the language, your mind will be expanded enormously, even if you don't have the ability at this moment to travel to all of those countries. Here, North Indian, South Indian, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn. And you learn by going and listening and not judging and observing and making your life, part of your life, an adventure. Come to Chicago and visit, or go to a city and visit where you can see. Oh yes, if you go to Amsterdam, particularly if you go to The Hague, there's little we call them food carts in America, food carts, but along the promenade, food carts where you can get raw herring and herring sandwiches, pickled herring sandwiches, raw herring sandwiches, or without the bread. Now, wow, isn't that interesting? Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter, but it is something to see how the others live. So what I am saying to you today is to cultivate your compassion. You need to meditate, but you also need to take sacred action. You need to do something. And in that doing, see the others. And I mean practically, my guru was a big proponent of eating the food of others, watching their movies, learning their languages, traveling to them, seeing the way that they eat, looking at their food, their clothing, the way that they live. And I will close, one beautiful thing about looking at the languages is remember, in China, the name is Chen Wei, not Wei Chen. The family name comes first. The family name is more important. Family name is more important than the individual name. Knowing that one thing should tell you, open the door for you to the whole realm of understanding of the others. And doing this is a practice, doing this is study, doing this for yourself helps you to gain compassion for others, to realize that your way of life is not the only way of life, that there are many, many people living other ways. And thus, you should meditate. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Study, study, study. Find joy in your meditation, find joy in your studies, but cultivate your compassion. Cultivate it. And if you fail or slip on a given day, and at the end of the day you say, oh, that wasn't such a good thing I did, forgive yourself. Do the forgiveness ritual. Forgive yourself. It's all right. You can stand up and keep on going. It's all right. I'll end with this. A few breaths ago, I had spiritual indigestion, a big case of it. And I was very discouraged. And I went to my guru and I said, Guruji, I was kind of like, I said, I don't understand. All these decades I've been doing all this practice. And look at this. Look at this. I'm still having this spiritual problem. I'm still working on it. Is it ever going to change? What's the point of it all? All that blah, 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 blah. And with the greatest love and compassion, just the greatest love and compassion, as he often had, as he always had, towards me. And I believe towards others, his actions were very compassionate. But he said to me with his deep love, he said, you and me and Shelly G too, we just have to keep practicing. Keep up what you're doing. Keep up what you're doing. And in time, it's getting softer, it's getting softer, it's getting softer, it's getting softer. And in time, this problem will dissolve away. And then he said with a smile in his eye, to have another one arise that you will use as the way to your enlightenment. Let us meditate. I would like to share with you a mantra, a very special mantra, and then we will go into our meditation. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare He Natana Rayana Vasudeva He Natana Rayana Vasudeva He Natana Rayana Vasudeva. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare He Natana Rayana Vasudeva. He Natanarayana Vasudeva. He Natanarayana Vasudeva. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare. He Natanarayana Vasudeva. He Natanarayana Vasudeva. He Natanarayana Vasudeva. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare. He Natanarayana Vasudeva. Pull the energy from the limbs to the trunk using the sipping breath. From the trunk to the spinal column. Again, using the sipping breath from the base of the spine to the sun center. Moving outward with a golden ball of light. Sweep around your body, moving to the left. 3 times encase your body in gold and light. And now ascend as high as you are able. Ascend to the high place. Finding yourself in the high place, sit in meditation and call upon your Ishtadevata, the chosen form, your chosen form of the divine, to be with you. Sitting in front of your Ishta holds a giant mirror up to you. You gaze at the mirror through your third eye to see the other. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare Hinatanarayana Vasudeva. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare Hinatanarayana Vasudeva. Om Namo 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 Namo. Gazing into the mirror, see the other whom you love. Choose one of those who come to your mind's eye and ask them for the gift of their wisdom. One thing they can share with you about life. Now, seeing your Ishta holding the mirror in front of you, allow what you have seen to dissolve away. And allow the mirror now to show you the others whom you do not know, whom you may not like. Allow you to see the others. Just one for whom your personality has distaste, you don't like. Mentally bow to that soul. And allow them to show you, ask them to show you a piece of wisdom that they have. And open your heart with compassion. Allow your mind to see what they are telling you without judgment. With a recognition there is only life. They are you, you are them. Bow and acknowledge what they have given to you. Share a thought of kindness or love with them, or give them something of beauty or wisdom from your own consciousness. Allow the mirror to dissolve away. Bow to your Ishtativata. And bow unto life. Dhyanamulam Guru Muti, Pujamulam Guru Padam, Mantramulam Guru Vakyam, Mokshamulam Guru Kripa. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchitananda Murtaye Nishprabhanjaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Gurubhyo Namaha Om Gurubhyo Namaha Om Gurubhyo Namaha. May you see the light. May you become aware of that which thou art. Let the light return to you again and again and again. Turn inward, meditate, meditate, meditate. Let no thing come between you and your meditation. Let no thing render your compassion. Let no thing neutralize your compassion. Feed it, vivify it, be strengthened by it. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Saro Aham Brahmasmi. Namaste. I thank you for your spiritual presence. Thank you for your Yoga City, for all that you have brought today, the blessings of your spiritual energies. You are a blessing. Remember that. Namaste. Especially to me, you are.